I have just come off a 12-hour shift. I am tired as hell, but Xbox has announced their sort of like business plan going forward on this like Xbox podcast thing that's happening, and that feels way more important to me than a good night's sleep. So I haven't had a chance to even like touch the internet to find out what exactly is going on with Xbox. So I'm very keen to actually see what's going on, because there have been some very interesting rumors on the internet. So I'll be keen to see how much of it is just people blowing stuff out of proportion.
Hello and welcome to the official
and how much
Xbox
of it is
podcast.
actual
I'm your host,
fact.
Tina Amini, and we have a very special
I'm very
episode
keen.
today, as you can probably
My
tell
boy
by
Phil.
the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard.
They're just going
now that they're part of our
straight into it.
portfolio,
Like, they're just not
how
even
that might
like,
be an impact on Game
we're going to
Pass.
talk about
And we
all
want
the
to talk
rumors.
about hardware too, and how
We're
all of this
hitting it
fits
hard.
into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we
We
start?
don't
Phil?
care.
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard. Maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity.
I love how
with
it's like,
some
hey,
news
when we
coming up and
originally
then
planned to
hardware.
do this show,
But we've had some.
there was no
unforeseen
plan
news
to do this
that has
show,
come out.
man.
So
There was
let's
no
just go
plan.
and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know
That's been the
it's on
biggest
minds of a
issue,
lot of
in
people
my
here
opinion,
from
with
the
Xbox,
community,
right?
and
Is
that's
they're not
important input for us.
proactive, they're reactive.
So we made the decision that
They
we're
wait
going to
for
take
rumors
4
and
games
stuff to hit the internet
to
before
the
they
other
actually
consoles.
make statements on things. They don't just come
4
out of the
games.
gate and be like, this is
Not
the
a
facts.
change to our kind of
Like the other
fundamental
day,
exclusive
they had to do this
strategy.
whole little podcast
It
thing.
is
Just tell us the
making this
facts, right?
decision
So
for
there's
some
less
specific
people
reasons.
spreading misinformation
We
on the
make
internet.
every
Be
decision
like,
really
this
with
is
the
what's happening with
long-term health of
exclusivity.
Xbox in
This
mind.
is what's happening with
And long-term health of
hardware. This is what's
Xbox
happening with
means growing
Xbox. We will
platform,
elaborate
games
more during the
performing,
Xbox podcast
building
on
the
this
best
day.
platform for
But
creators,
lo and behold, rest
reaching
assured,
as
this
many
is what's
players as we
happening, you know?
can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if
Are they,
either
like,
of those titles
leaked
are
already?
Starfield or
Like-
Indiana Jones?
They
Oh.
are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in
I
how
bet
the team
if
was
the
thinking
leaks are
about
real, it's
selecting
Hi-Fi
those 4
Rush,
titles?
Pentiment,
Let me start
and
a little bit
Sea of
outside of
Thieves.
that.
I
And
don't
I'll
know
get
what
to
the
the
fourth
4
one is.
specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console
yeah,
and PC,
but, like,
multiple
also that,
consoles,
like,
mobile console and PC, you see
when it
big
comes to
games
gaming, I
landing
feel
on
like the
multiple platforms,
exclusives are the thing
and
that are
we
talked
wanna
about the
be a
most. I
great
mean, like,
platform
whether
for
they're good or bad,
creators
like
that are trying to
Halo come
realize
out
that
bad.
potential.
People talked
But
about
now
it for
back to the
ages,
specifics
right?
of the question on
Spider-Man
these
2,
four
God of
specific
War,
titles.
Last of
We
Us.
looked
I
at
feel like when
games
you
that are
talk about,
over a year old,
like,
so they've been on Xbox
the
and PC
publishers
for a
and
while.
developers in general,
A
right?
couple
Like
of the
when you
games are
think
community-driven
PlayStation, you don't
games,
think
new
COD,
games
you don't
that kind of
think,
first iterations
you know,
of the
the
franchise
third-party
that
stuff.
have
You
reached their
think
full potential, I'd say, on
Last
Xbox
of Us and all that sort of
There's
stuff.
always
So if
growth.
that stuff really
Franchises
doesn't
that
feel
we
like
obviously
like
want
it's
to continue to invest in.
dwindling or going
Part
away.
of having
I
the
think
ability
it
to
is for
continue to
Xbox.
invest is
I
that the
mean,
businesses behind those franchises
clearly,
continue.
But I feel
I
like
think it's important to see
PlayStation,
service-based
more
games that
than
have
anyone right now, is
communities
trying to
behind
double
them,
down
that
on
they can have
exclusivity.
confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of
Xbox is just
community-driven
taking
games that
too
will end up
long.
on other platforms and
It's like
give
they
us
don't know
the
what they
ability
want to
continue
do.
to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and
So
great for
release
the
it
community,
everywhere.
more players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that.
Hi-Fi
But
Rush and
games
Pentiment.
that our teams really wanted to
Is
go build,
Pentiment?
that we love
Pennant?
supporting
Pennant?
creative
Pennant?
endeavors
Pennant?
across our
Pennant?
studios, regardless of size. And as they've
Hi-Fi
realized
Rush
their
is
full
amazing.
potential
More
on
people
Xbox
should
and
play that,
PC,
actually.
we
I
see an
think-
opportunity to utilize the
Like
other
Hi-Fi Rush on
platforms
Switch
as a
would
place to just
pop off.
drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games,
Yeah, but
coming,
in
please don't
saying
take
that,
it as
right,
some signal
like releasing these
everything's
games
coming.
on other
It's not.
platforms is great. Like,
and we're
hey,
gonna
let's
learn.
get them interested
So
in
when you are
Xbox.
thinking
But
about
if
the
these
future
games are
and this
releasing
concept of
day
live
one
service games,
across
games that
multiple
can benefit from
platforms, they're
bigger
not exactly
audiences
an
and new
Xbox
audiences,
game.
how does
Like,
that apply to future titles? And
they
how
are
you
a
define that
multi-platform
criteria there?
game developed
Yeah,
by
there's
Xbox.
really no fundamental change to how we
They aren't
think
an
about
Xbox
exclusivity.
game
We just came out of
wholeheartedly.
Developer Direct,
Like-
which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So
Oh, no,
it's
no,
this
yeah.
kind of
Maybe I'm
we're
way off
really
base with
focused
that.
on
Maybe
a
it will
couple
get more
platforms
people
and what's
interested in
gonna show
wanting
up
to like
there.
purchase an Xbox or something.
But our key of play the games you want with the people you want anywhere you want when everybody plays.
I
we
feel
all
like if a
win.
game came out,
These
like
have been
Hi-Fi
part
Rush
of
has
our
been what, out on
strategy
Xbox for a
years,
year.
and will continue to be.
And if
Our
that
focus
becomes
is on
multi-platform,
how do
like
we
I'm sure it
continue to
will,
grow the games industry by
that
reaching
I
more
can
players in more
see as
places,
saying
and how do
something
we
along the
grow
lines of like,
Xbox
oh, that's an
as part of
Xbox
that?
game that you can play
Xbox is a
everywhere
hardware
else. But just
platform,
dropping it
Xbox
like
is a
day one
publisher of
across
great
multiple
games,
platforms
Xbox
doesn't
as a
necessarily mean
platform
that, in
for
my
the world's
opinion,
best
that it's an
creators.
Xbox game.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first
Xbox
party
game to me
games
doesn't
and Game
mean
Pass?
something developed by Xbox.
Yeah, well, to
Xbox
build
game
on
to me is like Halo
what
is an
Phil
Xbox
just said, one
game.
thing I would
Forza
add,
is an
when
Xbox
you were talking
game.
about growth, it's
Yeah.
just that
God of War is a
we've sort of
PlayStation
seen
game.
this
It's the
inversion over
exclusive
the last
stuff.
5 years where it used to be that
Booty.
the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day one. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us.
So they're not putting
As Phil
Games
mentioned,
Pass anywhere
there are
else.
games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the two key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super excited to share
cool.
today. And it's all
I'm
part of
keen.
our commitment to
I'm
make
keen for that. That's pretty cool.
the Xbox experience
cool.
and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So
Does
now
that mean
the 34
COD
million Game
is
Pass
it gonna
members
be like
can
a
all
day
enjoy
one
the
game?
fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point,
I wonder if we can
Phil,
talk my
you
friends
mentioned at the
into
top
playing
this
Diablo now
isn't
that's gonna be on
really
Game
a
Pass.
change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah.
The boys
and
on
I
Diablo.
thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've
feel
made
like
on our
Phil's
first
the
party
only one
games
that's
that you
talking
can
about
buy our
anything of
game
relevance
once,
here.
you can
You know what I
play
mean?
across
Like,
Xbox and Windows.
no
I
disrespect
think
to
we're
the
only
Booty and
platform
Bond,
that
but
does
like
this,
he talked about
that
stuff
makes
that
it
we've been talking
possible
about
for
for
you
like the
not
last
only
4
to
years.
play with
And
your
she's
friends
like, hey,
wherever
Game
they are,
Pass.
but
That
to know
studio
that you
just
actually
bought their
have
games are going to
multiple
come to Game
entitlements
Pass.
to the game.
Kind of obvious
I think
that was going to happen.
that's a technology I'd love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best.
This is such a, hey, this console war, we lost. We know we lost. We're not going to say that we lost. We're going to come at this with this whole, hey, every screen, like every screen, every console, every platform is every game should be on everything. You know what I mean? This is such a, hey, we didn't win the console thing, so we're not going to say we lost, but we really just want everyone to play everywhere. We got this positive message of we just want everyone to play together. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that sucks, man. It feels like something died a little today.
Long-term success and growth.
So, like, a little bit Xbox died
And
today.
my understanding, just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where
Look at Phil's
people
shirt,
are
man.
playing on multiple
Xbox,
devices.
Blizzard,
That is the
Bethesda,
reality. And we
Activision
have
King.
put some games out on multiple platforms before.
Goddamn.
So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when
No, I'm not going to say anything.
you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love, and that they can play those games.
They didn't build shit yet. This is my problem, right? He's sitting here like, oh, we're the biggest publisher on these freaking platforms, right? Like, no, you're not. You're not. You bought companies that have been publishing on these platforms for years, right? You haven't done shit yet. Oh, we want to keep building great games. You haven't. You haven't really released anything yet that you guys have solely been in charge of, have been the driving force behind that has been good yet. You haven't done shit. I love you, Phil, but you've not done a fucking thing. Like, most of the games that have come out have been a fucking train wreck. And to be honest, like, I have to feel for them with, like, the Redfall stuff like that. I really don't think that's their problem. The Starfield stuff, these are games that are, like, already sort of like we're cooking in the oven. You know what I mean? But, like, what's their excuse for Halo? What's their excuse for, like Gears 5? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, they're talking about, we just want to keep building great games. Well, fucking release one. You've been building these games for so long. Release them before you turn around and say you want to keep building them. You know what I mean? Freaking publish some fucking games under the Activision name. You know what I mean? Under, like, that are solely done by your, like, solely in the direction you want Xbox to go. Like, actually have some of this shit released before you can talk about how big you are on these platforms and about how you want to continue to build and create great things. Like, because right now, all that they've really done is buy stuff and then have games release that have been in development long before they even thought about buying them. Maybe I'm way off.
Where they want to go play.
Maybe I'm way off.
But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in an Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years, and I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play,
None of it
more people to
feels
engage,
healthy
more people to
at
buy,
the
more
moment.
people to subscribe, it's all about putting
Game Pass
Xbox
is
in the
healthy.
best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience
That's what all these
somebody
acquisitions have
has
felt
on
like.
Xbox is hardware
Acquisitions
that
of like
your team
Activision and all
builds,
that sort of stuff have felt
and
like
that
a way to
people play on.
build
But that's
Game
not going to be
Pass,
everybody.
not
We
necessarily
fully accepted
build new
that we're going to have
games.
Xbox players across
I think
all
that's
kinds
what
of
I'm trying to get
businesses.
across here.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming, and in a lot of ways it was.
Like
there were
Xbox
some
feels
really
like it's trying to
amazing
make a
releases that I
transition
think
to
we all
being
enjoyed.
Netflix,
But
for
what were
video
the
games.
signals behind
Do you know
the
what I mean?
scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the
Like
future
Game
of
Pass
Xbox
only
and how we
games
kind of
might
keep up
become a
with the
thing of the
industry?
future. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
such a good
we've
question,
developed
and
this
I think
game and
it's-
it's only releasing on
As
Game
people
Pass.
who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of
I
games
feel
coming
like
in
the whole
2024,
layoff thing from
but
like
if we don't
Activision
get
and all
to
that sort of
growing
stuff is like,
as an
it
industry,
sucks.
the industry will struggle.
But I
And
also
today
feel
there's
like
really
should
two
have been
choices on how do you
expected in
grow
a
the
way.
industry.
Like they're
Do you
literally
say I have
taking
a
on a
fixed
whole
number of
bunch of
players,
new,
the players that we have today,
bunch of
and do
new
I find
employees
new
that they
ways to
probably don't even
monetize those players to
to
get more
do
money
with because
from the
they're going to
players
be
that I have?
restructuring and
Or do you think about how do I
rejiggering
expand the
Activision.
business
But I
have
also feel
by
like
finding new
in
players
situations like that, I feel like there
and
should be something
adding
in place
those
where
to the base of
legally
players that already play.
they
Our focus
can't
on
do
Xbox
that. Like
for
they'd
the
only
last
just sort
decade
of like
has really been on
finalize
that
this
latter
purchase, and all
point
of a sudden,
of
awesome,
how
all
do we
these
make
people
sure
need to go.
Xbox is
I feel like there should
growing
be some
for our
protection in
players,
place for those
growing for our
people that are
creators,
literally
so
going
those people are
and having
finding
their lives
success,
turned upside
on
down
our
by this
platform,
acquisition,
which will
and
grow
now
the
are out of the
Xbox
job. There should be
business
some sort of
and
protection
put
there,
Xbox
like,
in a position to be
hey,
very
if
strong
you
for
take
years and
this
decades to
company,
come.
if you buy this company
Matt,
and take
earlier
it
you
under
were
the
talking
Xbox
about
umbrella,
these growing
these
gaming
guys need to be
communities, how
guaranteed
they're
employment for the
incredibly
next
large,
12 months. There cannot be any
and,
layoffs, and there cannot be any
comparable on such a different
rejiggering of
level when we think
employees. But I
about
guess, I
console
don't know.
audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned
That sort of
Fortnite.
stuff's
So
hard. I shouldn't
how
talk
are
about it 'cause
we're,
I
we're
don't-
obviously
I don't
thinking about
know,
our
but
responsibility,
I
our
don't know.
hardware
Some
responsibility,
some
of
security for
supporting
those people
the
might be
growth
nice.
of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, I mean, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, I mean, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it for the player community,
It feels
it
weird
comes
hearing
down
Xbox
to
refer to
where
Call
are
of
the
Duty as
friends,
theirs.
where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose
Absolutely.
to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Palworld. You know, Palworld was able to launch, they were a game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things,
I wish they had a
Pocket
game that
Pair
they had
was
anything to
able
do
to have
with
this
that they could talk
outsized
about right now.
success. And it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got
No,
subscription,
the
we've got
reason it
retail,
was
we've
the
got
biggest
free-to-play, we've got
fucking
Creator
third-party
Preview,
game launch
we have the
ever
consoles,
was
we
because
have our
they went at
experience on
Pokemon,
PC,
one of
and
the
they can
biggest
access
franchises
all of
ever.
those things.
That's
And
why
when
it
we
was
step
huge.
back
It has
and
nothing
just
to do
look
with
at
the
performance
options
of
that
our
they gave
platform all
them.
up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this
I like
earlier,
Timmy's shoes.
it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, you know, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. I'm a slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that in online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play, is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're gonna support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know,
Are we going to talk about the physical media side of things?
What we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and
Xbox
we feel
needs to
that
release
as part
more
of first
games,
party
man.
with the platform proximity. You know, it's kind of
They
amazing
clearly
now to look
care,
out
but they need to
across
release
all the
more
studios
games
we've
that
got,
actually back up
and
the claims
just
that
be
they're making.
reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this
Right.
June.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
I'm just going to click randomly. I ain't going to waffle on, but I feel like a lot of things were over-exaggerated on the internet. You know, like there was a lot of stuff like Xbox is like not going to have exclusives anymore. They're releasing it everywhere. This, that, and the other. I feel like this sort of like cements what I was saying at the start of this. Like Xbox has really been more reactive than proactive. Like they're reacting to a situation. They're not coming forward the way they probably wanted to. I don't believe them when they say, hey, we were planning on doing this like really, really soon. I don't know if I'd buy that. I feel like they're having to do this because of the leaks and the stuff that dropped. I think the thing to take away from this is Xbox isn't going anywhere. It's just going to be changing a little bit. And I feel like we're probably going to see that a lot with like other publishers like Nintendo and PlayStation. They're probably going to have some changes on the horizon. I think the big thing to take away from this is Xbox need to release some damn games to back up the claims they're making, because there's a lot of claims being made, but not a lot of evidence to support these claims. About wanting to build great games and publish great games and all that stuff. Like I just feel like we're constantly at the start of what Xbox wants to do. I feel like we're always at the start of this race. And every now and again we get a false start. I just want to run it. Like, let's run it. Let's run this race. But other than that, look, dude, I love Xbox. I've always had an Xbox. Xbox is, you know, they made some of my favorite games. So I'm keen to see what they have coming up in the future. Fingers crossed for that handheld. I hope that's the piece of tech they're talking about that they're going to announce at the end of the year. That would be sick. I feel like a handheld Xbox would go the hell off. But I'm so tired. I'm going to go get some sleep. Until next time, everybody, may all your games be good ones. And I'll catch you guys next time, everybody. Peace. Bye.